Have we started yet, or?
I'm not a podcaster, so I always roll right away. Welcome to Machtails from the Cantina. When you hear this word, make sure you take a drink. If you're not 21 and over, this does not apply to you. Hopefully you're drinking along with us. Remember, always drink responsibly. An old friend of mine, very important person in the Star Wars community, Mr. Jimmy Mack.
Hello, Christian. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for joining me, man.
Cheers, brother. Cheers.
Cheers. This is the way now, you know? This is the way.
Yeah, that's how we do it. Long distance beer drinking buddies.
That's right. Now
we're not going to let a pandemic slow us down. You think our livers are going to be getting a break during this lockdown? No, our livers are free of quarantine and they are being tested to the limit. I'm being, probably a typical South Sider, even though I'm like more in the western suburbs and I grew up on the North Shore. I'm still having my Miller Lite and my Jack Daniels shooter. So yeah,
I'm drinking this Incarnation IPA. This is my go-to IPA. It's out of St. Louis and it is made by Four Hands Brewing. So that is what
I like a good IPA. And if I have a go-to IPA, it's typically the Lagunitas.
Do you have any vices?
Oh, look at that. I knocked my camera down. I was just like, oh my God. All right, listen, we could go on 2 shows about my vices. And I think they'll probably scare most people. So
what's your number one vice? Your number one vice?
Well, Star Wars.
Okay, Star Wars. Yeah, mine's baseball, Star Wars, and booze.
Star Wars. I love radio broadcasting. I love music. I love going to concerts. I'm not feeling good with the lockdown right now. As somebody who averages 2 or 3 concerts a month, and I have big plans for this summer.
The way that I've been affected by this pandemic is unemployment. Unemployment's been the big one for me. I know you're busy working in the house as well as your wife is, which is a blessing.
Yes.
To have that. But other than missing some shows, have there been any other downsides for you? I mean, is your family safe? Your mom and dad safe?
Oh yeah, yes, everyone's safe, but I miss them. I miss my mom and dad. I don't get to see them, or Billy Mack for that matter.
Yeah, and you guys are tight, your brother?
Yeah, and, super tight. Puppet Lando's up there.
Puppet Lando, yeah.
He's up there lonely without a hand up his ass. He needs Billy Mack. Or for Puppet Lando alone, we need Billy Mack.
But have you guys gotten a chance to do the Zoom chats?
With Billy?
With Billy, your mom and dad too?
Well, no, not with. I just call my mom and dad. The idea of a Zoom chat with my parents is
complicated, right?
Yeah, it's probably terrifying for the both of us. I mean, the phone call alone is complicated enough, so I don't need to add a video element into it.
I've been doing Zoom chats with everybody every night, and I compare it to like going to a bar with somebody. And, you just roll over and you get into bed. You don't have to drive anywhere. You just pass out, a couple feet away from you. I don't go out to a bar or I don't go out to drink with a friend every night when there's not a pandemic. But I'm doing that now.
It's hard. It's hard to be cut off from society like this. And we're all in the same boat, everything. So, God bless technology like this that we can use and abuse our livers.
I know you're very, very tight with your family. You guys are very, very close. With your busy schedule and Wendy's busy schedule, I was wondering, how do you guys find time for each other? Or are you at that part of the marriage where it's like, we spent all this time together?
There's no part of the marriage where that should happen.
Amen to that. Yeah, amen to that.
When I work, there are times when I'd be like, wow, they're up there watching something on TV and having fun watching it. But with everyone kind of locked down right now, it hasn't really been anything talked about. Every once in a while I'll get well, I never see you. But yeah, you know, we also don't want to burn out on each other. Michael and Wendy are usually they watch a lot of TV. So they keep up on all the shows, anything that has a Netflix buzz, anything. They always watch everything. I try to watch some stuff with them, but if it doesn't really grab me in the first couple of episodes, I'm out. And they'll stick with a series all the way through, even if it's lackluster. And I can't do that. My time's too valuable. I'd much rather be down in my studio creating things and, you know, putting content out and, you know, just doing what I do.
I'm on your level a little bit. Michelle watches a lot of TV and she keeps up with everything. And, you know, even though I'm not necessarily getting paid for what I do, I'm having fun creating, you know, and I'm kind of working on my editing skills and doing some things that way. You know, so it sounds like my wife would hang out with your family upstairs side by side.
Oh, absolutely.
Well.
But we do spend so much time together. Michael and his music career has been always sort of a part of the family business, you know. I miss going to my health club. I go to in Burr Ridge, I go to Lifetime Fitness. I started off the year really strong with workouts and.
Are you able to do any workouts at home?
I got these little, 20-pound stingers.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
I remember when I first met you, you were the one that reached out to me. You had heard that we were doing The Force Among Us, and we became friends that way. I wanted to film you for that film so badly, but Frank Yario was like, no, we're done. We got to wrap. We'll film for another 3 years. We got to wrap, you know. I did make up for it by doing the Phantom edit. As you know, we put you in The Force Among Us director's cut. I felt like I was able to at least redeem myself. But now I had this other thing, and I know you're not going to want to talk about it, but you know, my other film is tainted. Like everything I do becomes tainted because people do bad things.
Recently, you had an unfortunate event, a theft that happened here.
It was really a betrayal by someone who I had considered a friend for about 20 years. He stole about $200,000 worth of retail value items.
Now I got to do a Phantom edit of the Force Within Us. You know, now you've been involved in all my projects in one way or another. I mean, all of them. You recorded the dialogue for the one that's still on the back burner for Saying Goodbye to Jeffrey. Your son was in The Walkers Among Us. You've been a part of every single production. Ever since I knew you, with some exception, you have been very, very good to me.
With some exception? What exception? What are you going to do? You're going to bring up that thing from last December?
You have always put me on the guest list for everything. And I remember in Anaheim, you had the party for Rebel Force Radio. You put me on the guest list, and man, did I win so much stuff there. I won so much stuff at that party with all those raffle tickets that you made me pay the price last December because you put me on the guest list. I had a winning ticket. I wanted the Sand Suite item so bad because it was kind of like the Blue Harvest thing, and it reminded me of when we filmed out in Northern California for The Force Within Us.
We've got some giveaways. Let's do some giveaways. We've got so everybody grab your raffle tickets, and we're going to start off with the Blue Harvest inspired T-shirt. Raise your hand if you got 914.
Or yell, does somebody have it?
Is that mocked?
Oh, it's not Chris Mock. No, wait, Chris. Now he got a comp ticket. That T-shirt. No. I love you, Chris, but no.
So a month later, I get something on my doorstep, and I'm like, I didn't order anything. And this artist, who you might know, Wayne Barnes.
Oh, yeah. Well, we gave away some of his art at the show.
So he heard your show. And
Bad for
apparently
you.
the part where you said, no, you can't win, have a seat.
Yeah.
He heard your show.
Oh,
He felt
thank
so
you.
bad that he sent me
Yeah.
this,
Great. That's just great. Yeah.
and he sent me
Oh, yeah.
this.
Okay. Now that's too much. That's too much. You don't.
Oh, no, and he sent me this.
Wayne, listen. How am I going to teach Chris and make him learn? How am I going to teach him and make him learn when he gets showered with gifts like this?
What's the memory that really sticks out when you think of my projects?
Well, I love the stuff in The Real Fans that feature our friend Beau, who's no longer with us. That really is some very valuable footage you have of him. Kind of
Priceless.
It immortalizes him, you know, in a way that he wouldn't have had without your friendship. So I think it's great. Have you heard back from Nikki about the footage and everything?
Nikki has a hard time watching it.
I'll bet.
You know, but she loves it. She loves watching it. It makes her feel good, of course, and at the same time, she feels really, really sad.
You caught him in some very real moments, which is easy to do with Beau because he only had one. He only had one rhythm, and that was just being as real as possible. I just think back in times like you and me and him sitting at a bar after a Joliet Star Wars day and just, you know, kicking back and having a few and not holding back. No, there was never any filter with any conversations with him, and you could say what was on your mind and stuff. And he would, you know, he would never overreact. He would never, you know, he would just always kind of take it all in and provide you with his perspective. And I always like that about Beau. And he was a great Star Wars fan, and he was a hell of an artist. He would take vintage Star Wars toys and customize them into things that only his mind could create. You know, it was just I have a lot of his artwork in my house. Actually, his dad still lives just a few blocks from my house, and so Beau would be around in the neighborhood all the time, you know, painting houses. I'd be out walking my dog, and he'd be driving by in his truck and he'd stop. And there was one day there was roadkill at the end of my driveway, which is, you know, it's not a sight you normally see in my neighborhood. It's not like we're out in the country or anything, but I think it was a squirrel. I couldn't quite identify it. And I went out there to shovel that thing up, and my gag reflex kicked in, like, oh God, my eyes got all watered up. I couldn't do it. And Beau just grabbed that shovel out of my hand, and he marched down there to the end of the driveway and just, you know, not only did he shovel it up, he inspected it for a while and stuff. He loved just like gross. Sometimes he would just be like, oh, that's, you know, he was like a garbage pail kid, I think, sometimes, you know. And he came down into my basement before it was finished, and we had talked about him maybe coming down in here, and I'd help him. We put up some drywall and build out a studio for me and everything.
Yeah, that was actually almost a scene that we possibly were going to do for the Real Fans of the Saga, you know?
Right. But, you know, we had to get the basement waterproofed, and that cost a fortune. And then Wendy had it became more than just a studio. It became a fully furnished and finished basement. And so it was just a little outside of Beau's, you know, I needed to have a whole crew down here to do it. But I just remember him coming down here, and he saw my setup by the water heater, and it was a card table with all this gear on it. It was just a mess. And he's like, you produce Rebel Force Radio and the Jonathan Brandmeier show from this? And I'm like, oh crap, I got to put up some walls, man. I was always embarrassed of that too. But
what's your favorite episode with Beau?
I just, like, images popped in my mind, like when he was doing that heavy metal Star Wars song about the Jedi, you know, and then, or like him just sitting in the hot tub busting balls. I don't think Beau really even went to the convention at all. I think he just hung out in the house.
Out of all the celebrations that I went to, Anaheim was my least favorite, just because
the worst.
Just the way it was set up, and the get around, and the line time, and
joke with people camping out all night. and
Yeah.
Lucasfilm encouraging it and everything. It was just a joke. That was the worst. It got so bad that I didn't want to go on Saturday. I'm just like, it's so crowded on Saturday. I just don't want to deal with it. We were going to go see the Smugglers play, which is these live audio dramas that Kyle Newman and myself produced over the years. And this one was the last one. Only worked on this particular play for about a month. Then I stepped away from it. And I sort of had a falling out with Star Wars Celebration because they're fucking idiots. But so we went on Saturday because Kyle Newman really wanted us there. And it's like, well, you know, he's a great guy. He's showing us support. We'll show him support. We'll go. And the whole thing just was a nightmare. So me and Swank got in one of our only fights ever as a podcast couple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it happened on the floor of Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. And I'm like, get me out of this convention center now. And there were all kind of meltdowns going on that weekend.
As an outsider looking in, you are the best in doing what you do. And you bring a lot of talent from your professional outside world into your hobby, which is podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you've been working in radio for years. You have a degree in radio broadcasting. And I know sometimes when I'm hanging out with you, I feel like I'm in the Endor forest with a bunch of Ewoks and you're C-3PO.
I do believe they think I am some sort of god.
You have some really, really loyal people, which I think is fantastic. But
well, you know, we've really been blessed with the ability to connect to Star Wars fans. And that's one thing I definitely know I have confidence in that we do.
And you do that other people don't.
Well, no. I'm not saying other people don't. I'm just saying we do. And
I mean, the world we live in, people are on their Facebook, on their social media, on their Twitter, they're hiding behind this wall. And there's a lot of fallouts in society, and especially in fandom. I remember going on Facebook years ago, and there was like this podcast alliance, and I'm like, this is the fucking, this is my own observation. I said, this is like the world against Jimmy Mac. I said, why do people have this hate? I mean, the only way that I can think of it is jealousy. I've seen it in the 501st. I've seen it in just regular, casual fan circles. You know, I mean, I'm an outsider looking in. You're in the middle of the tornado. Do you know what's wrong with people today?
Well, we don't really pay much attention to it, I'll tell you right now. And let me tell you this. If you create something like a podcast alliance, while you may be doing it under the guise of inclusion and diversity, once your alliance is set in stone, what about everyone else? In essence, you're creating further exclusion by doing stuff like that. And a lot of people like to weaponize that, and they like to attack shows like Rebel Force Radio because they think they can cancel us, or they think by knocking us down a peg, it will benefit themselves and their own careers and egos. And, you know, I mean, this stuff happens within fandom. It also happens within the hallways of Lucasfilm, too.
You know, when I first started out with The Force Among Us, I saw this shit back in 2005, 2006. I thought everybody thought I always say their Star Wars dick was bigger than everybody else's. Like, oh, I'm a bigger fan than you. I'm a bigger fan than you. I kind of wanted to show that in The Force Among Us, but then I felt like after we got through it, I'm like, well, wait a minute, man. Everybody in here is kind of, you know, brought together by Star Wars. I kind of found the silver lining in it, not the negativity, which a lot of people, as you know, look at and look for. But I mean, God, right now the fan community is just so divided. Why do you think, just in general, you know, I mean, even remove the podcasters out of the scenario. Disney, the happiest place in the world, bought Star Wars, and I feel like Star Wars fandom is so ugly. Why do you think that?
Well, shit rolls downhill, doesn't it? I fear Lucasfilm themselves has promoted a lot of this fan division, and I feel like they're still doing it. I really do. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't understand why they don't, you know, they have to pigeonhole everything. This is a Star Wars thing for little kids. This is a Star Wars thing for, this is, what's their latest thing? Female centric. This is a female centric one.
They're
This is one that-
categorizing everything for everybody out there.
This is one that will appeal to old fans. This is one that will appeal to new fans. It's like, how come? It's like, why don't you just concentrate on creating Star Wars that families can enjoy?
Which is what George did.
A timeless, family-based medium of entertainment. I don't understand why they have to find ways to promote further division. And Lucasfilm's been really good at that. And I don't know what they're thinking over there, but it's like they're constantly shooting themselves in the foot. And I think the management there needs an enema. I think the entire place needs an enema. I think there's misandry all over in those hallways. I think that they believe they can run Lucasfilm the same way George Lucas could run Lucasfilm. By being aloof, by being standoffish. Now that worked for George Lucas because George Lucas was Star Wars and we accepted that.
Independent, you know?
Yes, independent. He was a rebel and we knew it. But now with this faceless corporate entity owning Star Wars, and they're trying to maintain the culture that George Lucas ran the company with, they have not cultivated that sort of command of authority in my book. And you know, to try to reinvent the wheel during episode 8 of 9 was a huge derailing of the franchise, and it was arrogant, and I think the price has been paid. I think the franchise has sunk in value. The Solo box office numbers reveal that, as do the Rise of Skywalker box office numbers.
But not the Rogue One box office numbers.
Rogue One they were so lucky they were able to pull that off. Tony Gilroy, in the very few comments he's made about coming on to that project, he revealed that Lucasfilm didn't know its face from its ass at that moment during the Rogue One production. It was absolute bedlam and mayhem. There was no direction. There was no leadership. And the fact that that film turned out the way it did is absolute freaking miracle.
You guys have been doing your show for a long, long, long time. How the hell do you keep yourself from getting burnt out? And I'm assuming that your passion keeps it going, but how do you?
Right.
How the fuck don't you get burnt out and doing it day in and day out, man?
I'm a machine, and I have nothing but metal parts and circuitry running through my innards, and all I need is just to be recharged overnight, and I'm ready to go. I am prolific in the amount of work that I'm able to produce.
You kind of do this shit in your sleep, too. I mean, you've been doing it for so long, and you do it all the time.
I'm lucky to have a family that gives me the freedom to do what I want to do. I have an inbox that's going to be filled until I'm in my 80s, and then I'm going to pass it along to my kids, and they can finish my work for me.
Sure.
There's no way I'll be able to get everything done in my lifetime.
Well, that means you're going to live a long time, because that's going to keep you going. I mean, I think that's really, really going to keep you going, because my grandma, God, she was hit head on by a drunk driver. She had a craniotomy. She had a quadruple bypass, and the woman lived for so long because she was independent, and she's like, I got too much to do. I can't die. I'll never finish it. Because of Wendy in the same line of work of what you do, I think that's a blessing as well. She understands you, and she knows the hard work that's put into it, and I think that's got to be a really good thing for the marriage.
Yeah, we definitely have been in the trenches together. We've worked on shows together before and after we got married. Yes, she is understanding. She's very understanding, and she understands that I want to do this. You know, that I get a lot of joy out of it. It's just simply what I do.
You can only pick one. It's going to be hard, but what is your number one fanboy moment.
The first time I went to Skywalker Ranch, I went there to visit Matthew Wood and David Acord at Skywalker Sound. I'd never been to San Francisco before. I rented a car at the airport and drove right from SFO to Marin County and Skywalker Ranch. And having that beautiful environment unfold to me after I crossed the Golden Gate Bridge and pulled up to the gates of the ranch itself, and seeing those hills, those green hills that I'd always seen in the background and TV shows and everything, that just really sucked me in. To the point of where I go out to the Bay Area once or twice a year now, and often it has nothing to do with Star Wars anymore. I go out there because I fell in love with the area.
You never made it to the Fillmore, no?
No, just outside. I never went in.
Oh, because I'm a huge fan of that era of music.
I know, I'll get there. I'll get there. Like I say, I go once or twice a year. Now, this
You
summer...
gotta leave it for an excuse to go back, right?
Yeah. There is a grand piano in the main house at Skywalker Ranch. And me and Billy were there, Billy Mack, and our friend Stu. And they get to the piano, and they're like, yeah, John Williams played this piano, and da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, my gosh.
Does anybody play? So Stu walks over to the piano. He starts playing Jack Straw by the Dead. Me and Billy Mack jump in, and we're singing it. And we go through the whole song, dude. And every moment we're singing, I'm expecting George Lucas to come walking in. He'd be like, oh, yeah, the good old Grateful Dead. Yeah, Jack Straw from Wichita, yeah. But, I mean, it was just like this. It was like a surreal moment, though. Because the night before we were at Rancho Obi-Wan, we had our instruments, bass, keyboards, guitars, and stuff. And there's an all-purpose room at Rancho Obi-Wan in one of the back converted barns, and it's called the Jabba room because they have a life-size Jabba the Hutt in there, you know, complete with hookah and Salacious Crumb, and there's droids in there and everything. We set up our instruments in there, and so we would do our Jabba jams. And so just the night before, we were practicing Jack Straw. And, you know, with Billy on guitar, me on the bass, and Stu on the keyboards, because Stu lives at Rancho Obi-Wan.
I'm going to do a shot of blue milk here.
Oh, shit. Oh, okay.
This is my shot of blue milk.
Oh, you hit. Man, I have Star Wars shot glasses. I'm dropping the ball here. All right, here, cheers. I have my Rancho Obi-Wan whiskey mug is what that is. Look at that. That looked like a double, Christian.
Yeah, it was a double. Has a Star Wars film ever made you cry?
Oh, well, the Rise of Skywalker sure did.
The Rise of Skywalker did.
Many times.
Tears of joy, tears of happiness.
And it's all coming to an end. And some of the imagery really reinforced that for me. Jason Swank likes to make fun of it, but when Chewie hit his knees upon learning of Leia's death, that hit me emotionally. And then after that, it was one after another after that. I hear people get upset and they'll go, well, Rey took everything. She took Luke's lightsaber. She took Luke's ship. She took the Millennium Falcon. She moved into Luke's house at the end of the film and all this stuff, you know. But it's not.
His last name.
To me, yeah, it took his last name. But to me, it's not. That's not what it's all about. I mean, this is the end of it all, right? It's all about the victory lap and how it's executed. And
so you were happy with the final movie?
I was extremely happy with the
Okay, cool.
And I know I'm in a minority, and I've considered, what's wrong with me?
Well, no, you know what, man? Nothing's wrong with you at all, because
thanks, Christian.
I love all the Star Wars movies. I think out of all the projects, Attack of the Clone and Solo are my least favorite, but I still love them. And I just don't understand the hate and the division of the fan community. Going back to what I was talking about before, I don't get it.
Well, again, Lucasfilm has done a good job of sowing division and actually promoting that kind of thing. Do they do anything to unite fans? No, they create different things to further divide fans. Boys on this side, girls on that side. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're creating the drama.
Fucking ridiculous.
They're creating the drama much like a reality show.
That Solo movie was as bad as, I mean, the fact that Ron Howard came in and made it as digestible a story as he did.
I mean, Ron Howard's a genius too, and he couldn't even.
It's a film that should come out 10 years, 12 years from now. The timing was awful. They had just killed off Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens, and now they bring him back, and all of a sudden he's a half foot shorter than he was before. I didn't buy Alden as Harrison Ford for a second.
Would you say that that's your least favorite Star Wars movie?
No, The Last Jedi is just because of the awful impact it's had on the fan base and how divisive it's been and how it's really taken the entire franchise off the rails and the arrogance that was behind that entire production. You accept this film or you are canceled from Star Wars, the Star Wars fan base. And on the other side of the coin, there are fans saying, I love this movie, I don't know what's wrong, and then they get attacked. That's not fair either. If you love it, then love it. You shouldn't be getting attacked for it, nor should people be fighting over it. You can't make someone like something you like just because you want them to. And people really started to fight this fight on both sides. And that movie, no matter how much I would desire to see it again, I know if I hit play, a lot of this bad taste will come into my mouth.
What's your favorite Star Wars piece in your collection? You can only pick one for this question.
Okay, well, it's impossible to pick. I mean, I got Puppet Lando up here, but I had a great time last summer visiting Galaxy's Edge in Anaheim with the family, and I really wanted to have a magic moment with my boys because they're Michael's 20, Dylan's 17, they're getting there, the wonder years are long behind us, let's just say. I signed us up to do the lightsaber build. And we all did it together. And I just kind of am under the impression that should Galaxy's Edge stick around and be a hit and be around, 20 years from now, maybe my kids will take my grandkids to Galaxy's Edge. Maybe I'll take my grandkids to Galaxy's Edge and we'll build lightsabers together. And it'll be just like one of those family heirloom things. So here's my saber that I built at Galaxy's Edge. I'm not a big lightsaber collector. This is really the only high quality one I have. It has a blade put on it. It lights up and everything.
Now, did you build that by yourself or did you build it with your sons?
We all built our own sabers. And there are different types of sabers you can build. So it's not even Star Wars anymore. I look at the saber, I think of my boys. So that's something that's always going to mean a lot to me is that trip and everything. I have a lot of things in my collection that mean a lot to me, but they remind me of things I've done or people I've met or great moments in Star Wars history. But this lightsaber represents more of my family, and that's what Star Wars is all about. Stop talking, let's have another shot.
Okay, all right. Hey, that's going to lead us into the game time, almost game time segment here.
Oh,
cheers, man. Cheers.
Clean.
Now this is Guido. Guido shot second, so
not according to George Lucas.
Well, I want to do a segment here called "What Would Jimmy Do?"
Uh-oh.
I've always come to you for advice. You give me advice on a lot of different things.
Yes.
One of the things I did not follow you on was you had said, whatever you do not call it the real fans of the saga.
Well, you explained it, but I told you that there are people who get hang-ups about that because they think you're saying you're
gatekeeping.
They call it gatekeeping, whatever they want to call it, whatever terminology they want to call it. I just wanted you to be prepared that if you call yourselves real fans of anything, that the other fans will have something to say about that. But then you explained to me, it's no, it's a take on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or something. I'm like, oh, okay, well then more power to you, then go for it.
So what would you have called the reality show?
Mocktails from the Cantina. I don't know. I like real fans. Christian, I swear to God, I probably gave you some suggestions back then, but this was a few years ago, and I think you've emerged unscathed. So I think all is good. I think Real Fans of the Saga is a perfect title actually for the show, and like I said,
you know the backstory behind it. My wife.
Yes, she loves to watch the shows.
The Bravo show.
Like my family,
My second what would Jimmy do question. We know what happened with some people that we don't want to bring up. They were replaced by yours truly in the Force Among Us.
Surprised they didn't threaten to sue you, like some lawsuit. How dare you?
Yeah, exactly.
These
exactly.
guys, they have a whole career of threatening to sue other fans.
Well, you want to sue me?
Well, why not?
Me?
Sue everybody.
These despicable creatures.
So now I'm wondering, now I got this issue with another guy we don't want to mention. He's a thief, I will tell you that.
Yeah.
What do I do with him in my footage if I make a director's cut of the Force Within Us?
I've always believed this, okay? You can't change history, all right? If your movies have these elements in them, then it's just part of history, man.
Yeah.
You know, I feel society is too hung up on erasing and trying to restructure the past. We should learn from the past and build upon it.
My last one, what would Jimmy do? I'm obviously, as you know, going to make a third documentary to close out the trilogy.
Oh yeah, you're gonna do this, huh? This is really the first time you're kind of confirming this to me, so you know.
Well, I kind of confirmed.
We talked about it forever, but
yeah, I've talked about it forever.
You're like George Lucas, you know. He's like, I gotta make the prequels. You're like
1984. He's talking about making the prequel.
We don't outgrow this shit, ladies and gentlemen.
But I was originally going to do a location documentary for the third one, The Force Around Us. But because of the state of fandom and because we don't want to erase the past, but we want to tell the present and we want to talk about the future.
Yeah.
What would you do? A location documentary or a documentary that kind of celebrates fandom where it is now?
Well, I'll tell you what. Your first two chapters, The Force Among Us and The Force Within Us, featured location shoots. You guys visiting locations. And so I kind of consider that to be sort of a trademark and a staple of your production. So I think you should definitely find at least some shooting location to go visit, because that's an important part of what you do. That's part of your brand, you know? So that needs to be in there. Of course, your personal story, I liked it much more in The Force Within Us when you drew in the story and made it more personal about your experiences, as opposed to some sort of wide umbrella of Star Wars fandom, you know, which is what you were doing in the first one. And you did a good job with that too. But I think it's better when it comes from you and has that personal touch, because that's what Star Wars fandom is all about. We all own Star Wars. Lucasfilm doesn't own Star Wars. We own it. We're the fans and we own it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with celebrating the entitlement that comes with it, you know? And people use that as such a word, an entitlement. You're such an entitled fan. Well, you're goddamn right I am. I've been here for 40 fucking years. And I know what I'm doing. You know, oh no, you can't be a fan like that anymore. This is the Wolfpack tattoo.
Oh, I remember the Wolfpack tattoo, yeah.
I got that. Nobody knows what the hell that is. I say it's Star Wars. They're like, Star Wars? What are you talking about? They expect to see a TIE fighter there or something.
Oh, it's
the wolf. It's the wolf from the Clone Wars.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Dave Filoni clan right there.
What? Kind of looks like a fox, doesn't it? I'm just kidding. Dave, Fox pack. It's the Foxy pack. Jimmy Mac's own club. Commander Fox.
Foxy. In order for him to release the image of his wolf to me, he had to go through all of this legal stuff, and then he emailed it to me and said, the only way I can give this to you is if I post it publicly. I'm so truthful on this show. I'm drinking the truth serum. You want one more?
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? Speaking about truth serum, the funny thing is, I'm not a shot guy, but every time I go have a couple beers with you, I know you always try to make me do a shot.
I do.
So since I'm home and I got this shot of my choice, cheers, man. Okay, truth serum. That leads us to like a little game we play on the show called Plead the Fifth.
I think I drank a fifth.
I'm gonna ask you 4 questions.
Yeah.
You can only pass on one.
Okay. All right.
The first question is,
Yes.
have you ever made your wife upset because of Star Wars?
Oh, yes. Absolutely, I have. Absolutely. I just know that there are times when the family has sacrificed certain things for my Star Wars and my podcasting career. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the give and take you have with the marriage. I'll be honest with you. There's times when her podcasting and broadcasting has stepped on my toes a little bit too, but we roll with the punches. Like you were saying earlier, it's having a spouse who shares the same vocation and works in the same industry. There's a little bit more of an understanding that I think that goes on. We know what kind of sacrifices we have to make for each other. Yeah.
Who is your favorite character in the real fans of the saga?
Well, I'm gonna say Beau. God bless Beau. I think he's great.
God bless Beau, man.
But there you go. But drunk Duffy, the stormtrooper, the drunk stormtrooper, that always entertains a lot too. He's like one of those guys who drank so much that he had to quit drinking, right?
No, that would be me.
No, you haven't either. But it's like you have those friends that you used to party hard with, and then you meet them in your 40s and 50s, and all of a sudden they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's just iced tea for me." It's like, what happened to you, man?
That is what I'm slowly becoming. That is not what Duffy has become.
No, you're not slowly becoming anything. Keep your mouth shut.
It's been a long process. Okay, we're going to turn the heat up for these last two questions.
Okay.
Have you ever masturbated to Slave Leia?
Yes, I have.
You
I
have?
have to be honest, and I felt bad about it too after it was over. I was like 13, and it was just a moment, and I can't lie. I mean, part of me felt good about doing it, and part of me felt terrible about doing it too.
My last question for you is, and this has kind of been the white elephant that we've just let run rampant in the room. Did you ever see the Star Wars porn?
Oh yes, of course I did. I was given a DVD on the first night of Star Wars Celebration. I want to say Star Wars Celebration 5, which was 2010.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Right.
And it's just like I had gotten there. That I got to it was in Orlando, and I was working on Rebel Scum, and one of the team members there gave me a DVD, and I said to myself, "Thank God Swank isn't getting in town until tomorrow." Because I had to review. You understand? I had to review these questions are disgusting and despicable, Christian, and I'm only answering them because you asked them. Okay.
Hey, and you know what? You were a very good sport on Plead the Fifth because you didn't plead the fifth at all. So thank you.
Oh, no, why would I do that? My life is an open book.
Since we're on the topic of sex, Hall Pass, one Star Wars character that you would have the Hall Pass for. They have to be living. Who would it be? The Hall Pass.
That's very easy. The great Femi Taylor, who played Ula. I have interviewed Femi before, and I was absolutely smitten with her. And
she's a beautiful person, man. I mean, she's wonderful.
That beauty runs farther than skin deep. It's really she's a great person. And yeah.
Okay, this one is called One or the Other. You have to pick one over the other. I'm going to read two words for you. You pick one. A New Hope or Rogue One?
A New Hope.
New Hope.
Forever.
Fillmore East or the Fillmore West?
West.
Fillmore West. Of course, San Francisco, right?
Yeah, well, not counting the Allman Brothers live from the Fillmore East, which is the greatest live albums ever created. All of the richness and heritage of what
Fillmore West.
Fillmore name matter came from the San Francisco hippy-dippy scene of the late 60s.
Amen to that. Force Among Us or the Walkers Among Us?
Oh, The Force Among Us, because I love Star Wars more than I love The Walking Dead. But The Walkers Among Us did feature my son in it. However, I will have to take Star Wars over family. So I will say The Force Among Us.
Jimi Hendrix or Eddie Van Halen?
Oh, what are you doing to me, dude? How dare you make me choose between those two? Number one, they're guitar virtuosos from totally different eras. About a decade separates the two of them, and they were both, in my personal opinion, the best guitar players of their era. So it's really hard, but I'd have to say Jimi Hendrix, because I really put Jimi Hendrix on the list above just about any other guitar player.
It's my shirt for the night.
There we go.
And it's live from the Fillmore East. Live from the Fillmore East.
Are you experienced?
Yeah,
that was like Darth Vader. That was like Darth Vader saying, "Are you experienced?"
Smoke or edibles?
Smoke.
Smoke. I'm more edibles. Ryan Johnson or Kathy Kennedy?
I'd say Kathy Kennedy. I would, because I really think that she has had that massive career working with Steven Spielberg, and Ryan Johnson just seems like sort of flavor of the month, and I just wish Kathy would abandon a lot of her agendas and concentrate on the true core and essence of Star Wars, as opposed to this desire she has to reinvent it and make a point while doing it. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But neither of the two rank high on my list these days. I will say that.
THX or American Graffiti?
Wow. I'd have to say Graffiti. On Wolfman Jack alone.
I was always a big fan of the message that was trying to be portrayed in 1138. It was about the police trying to control society.
Big Brother.
Yeah, Big Brother beating you with the billy club. Hey, take these pills. We'll see you in the morning for another.
Every time you open the medicine cabinet, what's wrong? Oh, why do you need to know what's wrong with me? Big Brother, 1984 by George Orwell, and THX 1138 are warnings to us about what big government can do and how much they can control us if we let them. I think a film adaptation of 1984 in the year 2020 would be very apropos.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that so many people are fighting for bigger government,
When I first met you, I knew you were a music guy. I thought you were Led Zeppelin's biggest fan, followed by Van Halen. But then years went on, and I got to know you more. And then I was like, wait a minute, Jimmy's a fucking deadhead. I'm like, okay, so Led Zeppelin or the Grateful Dead, and you can only pick one.
Holy crap. I'd have to, at this point in my life, I'd have to say the Grateful Dead.
I did not answer your phone call when you guys were partying in Ohio in December.
What were you doing?
I was sleeping.
They said you were in the hotel room and you were, I meant you were there and you were pissed off.
No.
I didn't let you get the posters or the Rancho Obi-Wan t-shirt or something.
I wasn't pissed off. I was just disappointed, and I wanted to make sure
Why were you disappointed? Why? Because I didn't let you win?
Yeah.
I had comped you a ticket. Why would you want to take that away from someone who paid full price?
That's true.
I comped you a ticket because you were complaining about the service charge.
Yes.
And so you know what? So instead of waiving the $5 or $10 service charge, I waived your entire ticket.
And I thank you for that. And I think
but you still had a little pissy fit because you didn't win the damn posters that were earmarked for people who fucking paid full price. How dare you?
I feel like Lando, let me explain.
Well, you should have explained it to me after the show when we were all hanging out.
But you know what? My plan was to go to the Christmas Story house. I'm a huge
Christmas Story house, and you didn't even tell me about it. You think Maybe I wanted to go to the Christmas Story house too.
I thought you've been there before.
No, I've never been to Christmas Story house. I love Ralphie. How dare you exclude me from that wonderful event? I was driving back to Chicago with Billy Mack, and I'm like, those guys are all at the Christmas Story house. Should we go there? He's like, Billy, you know what Billy said? In Puppet Lando voice, he said, leave it, dude, just leave it. And so I left it, and I left you in Cleveland, sulking like a big baby. How dare you? Now, listen, Chris, I felt so bad.
And I have to admit, Jimmy, you've been a good friend of mine from day one. You actually came to the Meet the Baby party.
There's no baby that I will ever want to meet. I'd even want to meet my own babies. I was terrified of the whole prospect. But there I am for you, Christian. And what do you do to me? You leave me at Hofbrau House alone with
I was sleeping, man.
We had like 30 people there for the post-show party.
Yeah, everybody's doing shots, and Tyler's dancing on the fucking table, and everybody was hungover the next day except for me. If you were a Star Wars character during these times, COVID-19 times, who would you be?
I would probably be Plo Koon, because he wears that thing over his, he's got the mask on. Yeah, Ahsoka, yeah. So, I mean, he has the mask, and that would be handy at these times. But like, a lot of characters wear gloves. And then, the ones with the helmets, like a Boba Fett, he's probably pretty well insulated from any sort of COVID infection. So I appreciate that. Me, probably Boba Fett. Yeah. You know what? Because he still looks cool wearing a mask. Most of us look like dipshits with those things on, It's like, hey, who am I supposed to be? Alan Alda from MASH? What's going on here? No. Boba Fett doesn't have to worry about any of that shit.
I would rather be Plo Koon than Boba Fett, but I think because I'm such a Rogue One freak, I would rather be Two Tubes.
Dude, why Two Tubes? I love the Two Tubes, but why would you be Plo Koon instead of Boba Fett? I mean, Plo Koon has a big cauliflower-shaped head, and he has to wear the mask. I mean,
now, do you know? I don't know if you knew this about me, but I have a full-on authentic. I would say authentic because John Duffy's girlfriend at the time was a seamstress.
Yeah,
and Duffy was very particular with his costumes.
Yeah.
So she made me this Plo Koon robe, and I have a Plo Koon mask.
Wow.
And I've always been, when I was a kid, I loved Boba Fett, and I still like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But episode 1, the first introduction to me and my little brother Josh, he loved the Jedi like we loved the bounty hunters when we first saw Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, well, there was definitely an element to them that was
reminiscent. That was kind of bounty hunter-esque.
Yeah, well, just the diversity and variety of how they looked. It was just, yes.
So I've always been a big fan of the Jedi, and God, my Plo Koon collection is huge. I always say that I thought Plo Koon was cool before Dave Filoni fell in love with him. Would you ever accept a role as a main character in the Real Fans of the Saga Part 2?
A who? A what? A what in the role of who? So
speaking about media.
A what?
I didn't even smoke, man.
Oh, yeah, but you've been drinking, and you have all kind of incapabilities now because of your intoxication.
Would you ever accept a role?
Oh, me, Jimmy Mack in the Real Fans? Fuck yeah. Why is it taking you so long to ask, Dick?
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't helping me, calling you names.
The way that I looked at it, and I talked to Ian when we did a show with him, I said, I don't want to wrap 5 years around my life doing a season 2.
Yeah.
But I don't think we necessarily have to spend that amount of time, because now we know what we're doing. We know what to do. We know what not to do,
Yeah.
And not to put too many things on the back burner and sound, overachieving, But I would love to have you as part of my third documentary in The Force Around Us.
Yeah. I mean, my house is ripe for a reality series. I have the talk show host wife, and I have the budding musician son, and Star Wars to spare in this
house. It would be a lot of fun with you.
But it's a good hang. It's a good hang with you, Christian.
Always good hanging with you, man.
You know, I mean, we go back so far, and there's always been a consistency with our relationship, and I've always appreciated that very much. And the consistency comes from a baseline passion for Star Wars, and just the fact that we're a couple of Illinois maniacs.
Oh man, I think music is. We've talked a lot about music.
To me, that means more than someone who goes, yeah, I like things other than Star Wars. I like Marvel movies. If somebody says that to me, I'm like, man, you know, I want a little more ingredients in your pie. Okay. And Christian, you're definitely a well-rounded individual who has lots of different ingredients in your pie.
Hey, I gotta call you out real quick.
And beer.
Okay, so for Christmas, I gave you a
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just tuned into another Christian mocked guilt trip, which he excels at. He excels at the guilt trip. So what did you give me for Christmas that somehow slipped through the cracks and you've been bitter about ever for 4 months?
No, you know, I've been bitter about how you've treated the Christmas gift.
What? Gift? What gift?
Okay,
what gift?
I gave you a first print Led Zeppelin Fillmore postcard.
Oh, no, I have that, but you know what? It was framed.
It was
the avocado one?
It was framed, and then I went to your house, and I saw it unframed, and I'm like, that's like opening a fucking vintage Star Wars action.
You have to understand, so I got my house remodeled, and a bunch, you know, and there were a few things in that thing. We're moving shit around. I had it on the, you know, that card table that Beau made fun of me for. Hey, he's like, you produce Brandmeier out of this? You produce Rebel Force Radio out of this? And so like these guys came over and I was moving. They need to get behind the card table, and I had your framed thing. I couldn't hang shit up on the wall.
Yeah, and it broke.
It wasn't drywall. So I had it leaning up against the wall, and I moved the card table, and the thing fell, and the damn frame cracked.
Oh.
And I never recovered from that.
The frame fell and it broke. The funny thing is, because I could have got a frame just to expose the front, but because it had the Fillmore information on the back.
Right, so I could flip it over. And
yeah, I specifically went shopping for a double-sided frame.
Now, see, yeah, my problem is I should have hung it up on a wall. That would have never been a problem. But I had this basement with these walls. It wasn't drywall. I couldn't pound a nail into the wall. It was a nightmare. Listen, I will take bullets for Led Zeppelin. How dare you? How dare you think that I would ever let the legacy of the mighty Zepp fall into disrepair in any way, shape, or form?
No, I'm glad to hear that you didn't take the frame to use it like for a graduation present. Jimmy, we've been there since day one. And when we were there...
Do you see?
Yeah, Billy.
There it is. Billy D. Williams.
Is that you or me?
It's me, dummy.
Okay.
Puppet Lando, and it's Jason Swank and Billy Mack. Puppet Lando and Billy D. Williams, and this is the best money. This is $100 for this picture.
Okay, so now $100 though with Billy D. Williams, to me that's worth it.
Now see, that's worth it.
But $100 with the voice actor, come on.
Come on, a voice actor? Now that's Billy D. freaking Williams, man. He, you know, Diana Ross's leading man. Cheers.
Amen, brother. Cheers. Thank you for being a guest on the show.
Shows, because this will probably be split up into like 6 different shows. So long.
We will see you next time on Machtails from the Cantina.
you can take Star Wars with you. It goes wherever you go.